starting. I can't hear anything. Do you know, if you knew the dramas that went on behind the scenes today, you'd be amazed we were here at all. Martha's like, oh, there's a time difference. And poor old producer Martha, she's like, oh, yes, we are starting. And I actually had to reboot my machine because I installed a new graphics driver this morning and it broke everything. So there you go. It's all happy days. I'm back and I'm live everywhere. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Facebook Live, I think, Instagram, probably, definitely YouTube, Twitch. We're on Twitch as well. So lots of other places definitely around. Hi to everybody. Lots and lots of people. I will not take too long chatting because we've got a lot to talk about today. But Nigel, yes, I'm definitely combing my hair. Yes, yeah. Nice try. Yeah, very good. What else we got? Hello from Austria. Hello. That's Giza W. That sounds like a Cockney name, doesn't it? All right, Giza. But Giza, hi, from Austria. What else have we got? Kevin Woolley saying we haven't started yet. Correct. Yes, we are doing it. Nigel says, well, hey, yes, hello, Nigel. Charlie, frequent flyer Charlie, who's in our little gang, always here from Aurora. And Niels, hello, Niels, from Hamburg in Germany. I'm not sure what the Izam Zaki 1978 is saying because it's an Arabic script and we haven't got a translate option and I don't speak Arabic. So hello there, Isaac. I hope you're doing well. Who else we've got? Let's just go through a few of these and then we'll start the presentation. I was trying to think of an anagram of foolish otters. Okay, yes. Well, I know. Life's too short. Very good. Milan, you are a joker. Hello from Washington, D.C., from Risa in Germany. Ricardo, hola, I'm from Mexico City. As you know, I live in Texas, so kind of down south there. We used to be Tija many years ago, so part of Mexico. But hello to Ricardo, from Mexico City. Hervé, bonjour de France, bonjour, ça va? I hope you're doing well, Hervé. I'm going to France in June, actually. I'm going to visit Paris. Knut from Norway, Lillehammer. Oh, brilliant place, Lillehammer. I remember lots of Olympic, I think, events in Lillehammer. There are lots of, don't they have that toboggan thing, which is always amazing. It looks like a lot of fun, but also terrible. Boyan, hello, Boyan. Boyan Maitov from Maitov Software. Fantastic piece of kit. Maitov Arduino IDE. You definitely should look at Boyan stuff. I'll put a link up to Boyan at some point. I keep forgetting to put Boyan's website up there, but Boyan, great supporter of Delphi and some excellent stuff for Internet of Things and Arduino stuff. In a moment, I'll go through what webinars we've got up, and one of them is going to actually feature the Arduino. Ron, hello. Hi, Montesano. And Michelle, thank you for joining us. It's always good. Nigel's laughing. Gaza, not the Gaza, surely not. Good evening from the UK. All right, mate. As you can tell, everybody, born in the UK, originally born in London, just right by the Greenwich Meridian. So I'm a proper Londoner, not within the sound of Bow Bells because that doesn't really count, but close enough. Omar from Colombia. I'm just going to keep showing a few people because you get people say, "Oh, not a lot of people use Delphi." It's not true. And what it is Delphi and RAD Studio is extremely good at running and not going wrong. And so we don't get a lot of people. I mean, we've had some problems recently, but Delphi apps, once they're written, they're very, very robust and they don't go wrong and they keep going right. And that's the weird thing. And so we don't get lots of weird error messages because, .NET's been upgraded or something like that. So hello, Wilfred from Nairobi. Fantastic. Dubai. Oh, I could be here forever. There's Zagreb. Chemirik Mohammed from Algeria. Paul's here. Hello, Paul. The Netherlands. Chapicho. I hope I'm saying that right. Brazil. So many people in Brazil. Jakarta. I mean, seriously, it's like the who's who of every country in the world. Really, it's absolutely amazing. I'm really grateful that all of you join in, and we get so many people join us live. And then within 24 hours, we've got at least 2,500 people watch the streams as well. So I really appreciate it. I think we're up to 3,000 for last week's one, especially as this is kind of like entry level topic. I'm trying to just introduce the RAD Studio and what you can do. South Africa, Canada, Nigel's 30 miles south of London. Well, I don't go south of the river, mate. Iran, hello there to Mehrud. Rick, yes, Rick Sharon, not far from me actually, Fort Worth. Rick, if you're local, you'll know that I'm about to move back to Aubrey in Texas. I used to live in Frisco. I actually live in Lavon at the moment, but I'm moving back to Aubrey. I think in about 3 weeks' time. Dzień dobry to Leszek, who will be very amazed that I know how to say that. My stepfather is Polish. So dzień dobry. I hope you're doing well. Bonjour to France, Quebec, Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to just go through these very quickly because otherwise we'll be here forever because there are so many people on the chat. Look, everybody who's saying hi. So few from the US. Actually, I completely disagree about that. The reason is a couple of things. First of all, we have fewer people from Brazil joining these streams and fewer people from the United States than we would otherwise do. And the community in the United States and the community in Brazil is burgeoning. That's a good word to use for it. But also, we've realized that our messaging on the website is a little bit appeals to the existing users very successfully. Here's all these new products. Here's all these new features and things like that. But what we don't do massively well is actually emphasize why you would pick Delphi in the first place, why you would pick RAD Studio, why you would pick C++ Builder. And so we are actually tweaking our messaging on the website so that we are going to explain a lot more about what you can do with it, because RAD Studio is really massively stuffed to the gills with things for software development for iOS, Android, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, you name it, we can target it. And you can target it fairly easy with the language that's extremely easy to use and lots of components, which is what we're going to show today. We're not very effective at putting that message across. Our marketing department are very good, and our salespeople are extremely good at explaining things, but we feel like the websites and the content that we put out could be better, which is one of the reasons why I do what I'm doing, because I want you to understand the benefits of the product from the ground up. And then once we've got that nice little body of how to do the simple stuff, how to get to the point where you can create an iOS app, we're then going to go into a lot more depth and develop some real apps. There's a mobile course coming up that I'm presenting on Embarcadero Academy. If you upgraded last month, then you'll get free access to it. And that's an 8-hour course. We haven't quite finished all the content yet. That's my fault for that particular course, but there is a lot of it. And it does take you from not knowing anything to actually knowing how to develop. And if you haven't got access to that, speak to our salespeople and they'll do something to make sure that you do get access. Welcome, my dear teacher, the best Delphi or VB Studio. Not VB Studio, but yes. Okay, yeah, I understand. I'm going to stop saying hi to everybody around because I just can't keep going. Otherwise, we'll be here. You've been mispronouncing Delphi for 30 years. Yes, you have. I mentioned this to someone the other day that I've always said it Delphi. I've been a Delphi programmer for 29 years. And I've lived in the US for 14 years. And I became a citizen in 2013. And I still sound like this. I'm a genuine American citizen, but I'm a dual national. I'm British as well. And I'm sorry, but I've been saying Delphi the British way for many years, and I can't unthink that. So I'm going to keep saying it the British way. Hello, Hal, in Florida. And back in the good old days, I remember the early versions of Delphi on magazine cover discs. Yes. And in fact, on the subject of magazines, there is still a magazine that is Delphi and Object Pascal related, and that is the Blaise Pascal magazine. And if you subscribe to that, you can get an electronic copy or an actual physical printed magazine. It's actually edited by Detlef Overbeek from Amsterdam in Holland. And this month, I think there's at least 2 articles, maybe 3 from me. And next month, I've got some more articles coming out as well. We're going to start, writing for magazines again. I've written before and got into, some of these big sites because I am actually a professional technical author. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Hi from Turkey, and yes, it is how the Greeks would say it. Yeah, lots of South Africans here. Hi, Sean. I'm glad you made it. I know Sean pretty well. He's one of our MVPs. A pretty smart guy. You're an MVP, aren't you? Yes, yeah, I'm sure you are. Anyway, he's involved in some interesting stuff in the background. And there we go. Right, so relocate to Victoria, British Columbia. Nah, I live in Texas. It's nice and warm. I'm not going to the cold bits. I love Canada. It's a great country, but I'm not going to go and live there. Thanks. I lived in Nebraska for 5 years and it's freezing. I'm not going there again. Started with Turbo Pascal 1. Yes, so many people did. Anyway, enough of that from me. Otherwise, we'll be spending an hour of me just talking nonsense about various things and saying hi to everybody. If you put Arabic script in your chat window, I can't answer it because I don't know what you're saying and I have no idea of responding. You might be saying, hey, I really hate Delphi, and I might go, yes, thank you. Or you might say, oh, I really love RAD Studio, it's the best tool ever, and I go, thank you. And it doesn't express the right sentiment. So I'm sorry. If you can copy and paste it into English with Google Translate, we will answer. And we will actually also get back to some of these chats and reply as well, because we do want to make sure that we're engaging with you. This is not designed. What I hated before was I don't want people to watch the webinars and feel like I'm lecturing you. I want you to join these webinars each week, every Tuesday at the same time as we are now. Come along, chat with me, ask me questions, whatever, and we'll also do some of this presentation stuff as well. The presentation is important, but the chatting with you people and getting ideas and things like that is also important. I always give up my email address as well. I don't want you to think that Embarcadero are not listening to you or that we're a faceless corporation. If you try and mail someone at Microsoft, you're probably not going to get an answer. That's just because of the way they're structured. There's nothing wrong with them. Microsoft, great company. We actually do quite a lot together. But, I don't want people to think that Embarcadero is unresponsive. And sometimes we have problems, and I'll be open with you about that. But I do respond to every email. Sometimes it might take me a while because I get a lot. I get hundreds of emails. Mehrad says more than 20 years with Delphi. Yeah, it's me too. Thank you. And thanks very much. I'm from Algeria. Yes. Okay. Hello in Algeria. Salah, because I think you probably speak French as well as Arabic as well. And Naples and Greek. See, I'm now vindicated. A Greek person says they would pronounce it like Ian. Thank you. See, so I'm saying it the right way. And hello, Jose. Bom dia. So many Brazilians. Right. So shall we actually do the bit that we're supposed to be doing instead of me just talking nonsense? I'm going to minimize some windows over here. So I just like to make sure I'm not accidentally sharing something I shouldn't. What screen shall I share? Let's have a look. Entire screen. I think it's this one. And you should see this. And I will hide myself because I don't. Talk about the actual subject matter of the webinar. Today, we're going to talk about the free RAD Studio components and what they do. So when you buy or you install RAD Studio CE, for example, the Community Edition, you will get a apparently producer Martha says my audio dropped out for a second. Is it come back now, Martha? Did you back in so we can hear you go? Oh, my apologies. It was probably something to do with my camera. I might have messed something up. Sorry about Anyway, so today's subject is all the free RAD Studio components and what they do. So when you buy the RAD Studio or IDE, or you install it, the Community Edition, whatever, it comes with a bunch of free components. And those components allow you to write 99% of any program you could ever want for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, iOS, RAD Studio. Nigel says it's when I hit myself. Yeah, I think I messed up there. Sorry, everybody. That's why we have producer Martha in the background keeping me honest. So anyway, those components come for free. So, you know, they're built in. The components change depending on what version you've got. So if you're using the CE edition, you'll have one set of components. If you're using the professional version, a paid version, then you'll get similar components, but a couple of extra bits of bells and whistles above the free version, the CE version. And then there's an enterprise version that contains a lot more stuff to do with connecting to enterprise level databases in the cloud and things like that. And then the architect version has got absolutely everything in the kitchen sink, including some free packages. I'm not sure what the free offerings are at the moment. It's usually something nice though. I can't remember off the top of my head. Just go to the products page and we'll see what it is. By now, I hope you know who I am. Every time someone meets me, they always go, "Oh yes, I know who you are." I am Ian Barker, Embarcadero Developer Advocate, and you can reach me at ian.barker@embarcadero.com. Before you tell me, I know that this link that you see here will currently go to the RAD Studio product page. That is deliberate. The reason is when I put the blog post up, I will put the slides up when I've finished, and I will put a replay there as well. So currently, if you go to that link live, as we are now, with several hundred people actually watching us live, then you are going to go to the products page. But tomorrow or later on today, when you go to that product, that link, it'll actually go directly to the slides and the replay for today. You can also, if you're watching us live on YouTube or Twitch, you can click on the like button and click on the subscribe button. That has no effect. We don't know who you are if you like and subscribe. We can't spam you, but what it will do is YouTube will send you a notification the next time we go live. I don't know if Stephen Bullas is watching live, but I emailed with him quite a bit because he had problems with the registration links. But if for some reason you don't get a notification about this webinar, it's always going to be on Tuesdays and it's always going to be at this time. But if you subscribe on YouTube, if you hit subscribe, and then click the little notification bell. I sound like an influencer now, don't I? But if you click the notification bell, it will tell you that I'm live, and it'll tell you about the next stream, and it will warn you that there's another one coming up in a week or something like that as well. So it's much harder to miss things. Stephen, you made it! Hooray! Stephen Bullis is watching live as well. Hello, Stephen. Good that you made it across. So anyway, there I am. If you've got any questions about RAD Studio, or there's something you don't like, or there's something you do like and you don't want us to get rid of it, or there's a suggestion for an improvement, or just anything really, feel free to email me at ian.barker@embarcadero.com. I won't answer technical support questions. There are people out there in our support department who are much better at doing that than me. I'm good at doing the presenting, the hosting, and that kind of stuff. I'm not your guy to give you technical support. There are lots of better people for doing that. So don't ask me tech support questions, because all I will do is have to forward you to the support people, and then they'll get in touch. But if I don't know the answer to a question, I will actually try and find someone who does know the answer and then put you across. So that's it. And if you want to know more about me and who I am, go to about.me/Ian Barker, and it will tell you what I do in general. Long-time software developer, etc. So where are we now? Well, here are the webinars that we've got planned for April and May. I've actually got more planned after that, but I just want to look ahead, right now and next month. Today about the components. Next week, we're going to do a best kind of roundup of third-party components and libraries. So the power of RAD Studio is the ability to get something that has got ready-made code ready for you to go. So for example, if they have a if you want to do a reporting application, for example, and you want to create fancy reports with graphs in them and flowcharts and all sorts of amazing embedded things and make them appear on, to a PDF and all that kind of stuff. There are some components already built in to RAD Studio, but there are lots of third-party components not written by Embarcadero that will do all that. Same with some web technology. That's not our strongest suit at the moment. We're doing something about that. But the third-party libraries from people like TMS, from UniGUI and IntraWeb will allow you to do things that, create web pages from Delphi code. And so we're going to look at some of those third-party libraries next week. Like I say, not included in the product, but they are either free or you pay a respectable amount of money to get them, and then you don't have to write the code yourself. The reason that's important is those components have been tested by someone else. There's safety in numbers. If enough people use them, then all the bugs will get ironed out of those things. And also, more importantly, it's probably pretty high quality stuff, because the third-party vendors tend to be experts in the libraries they're offering, and it means that people like you and me do not have to think too hard when we write programs. That's what I like about RAD Studio. I can just look good by using someone else's brain power to do the code. We're going to talk about UI design. We're going to talk about databases, and that includes MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server, SQLite, a few others like Interbase and cloud databases and local databases. We're going to do a book club, and we're also going to talk about how to save and remember settings and options properly, so that when your app restarts, if the customer has decided that your app should run in dark mode, you should probably remember that if you support dark mode and light mode. And if you do remember that, it's important to know where you can save that setting so you can retrieve it. And Coco's here, isn't it? Hello, Coco. And yes, I know, Drew, I did say you're not necessarily going to get to the point of the components straight away. So relax. If you want to come back to the replay, forward far past this bit where I'm talking nonsense, and then get to the good stuff. And anyway, saving and remembering settings, and then make stuff. We're going to make a sword fighting robot, a grocery store checkout, and a low RA radio. You can also find all these webinar replays on the RAD Studio welcome page. The benefit of that is if you're unhappy about me talking too much, then you can click on there, scroll through the bits you don't like and any mistakes and things like that, and go to the bits you're interested in. And that'll keep Addy, Bleck, and Drewski happy. So what are we going to talk about? Well, the first thing is that RAD Studio supports two types of frameworks. Okay, the two types of frameworks are VCL and FireMonkey. And if you look in the top left-hand corner of RAD Studio, if you've downloaded the CE edition or something like that, you'll see the welcome page. The two things that are on that welcome page are create new, and then Windows VCL application / Delphi, and multi-device application Delphi. The VCL is very, very close to Windows, and it is only Windows and nothing else. It's almost like a wrapper around some of the Windows API, and that also means the Windows controls. So as Windows is updated and upgraded and they bring in new versions of controls, then the VCL will automatically adopt those as well. And the same with the behavior. If Windows does something a particular way in another Windows app, and it's, again, wrapping the Windows controls, then that behavior will be mimicked as well. It's very, very close, and it's actually one of the better API libraries, or I don't know what you want to call it, frameworks, I suppose, that is available. But it is Windows only, and that's why we say in the create new thing there, Windows VCL application only. Okay. The second framework, which actually I prefer more, but is actually not used by quite as many people, is FireMonkey FMX. Now, the thing about the FireMonkey FMX is it is cross-platform. Another way of looking at it is to say that it is platform agnostic. Now, if English is second language, and I know from the 20-odd countries we've got logged in and watching, it probably is likely that English is your second language. And things like platform agnostic is jargon. Really, it doesn't help. What it means is if you choose FireMonkey and you write your programs, those programs can easily target Windows, Mac OS, and Linux desktops from the same code. And those components will look almost the same on each of those operating systems. Now, the same goes for iOS and Android. So if you write an iOS app using RAD Studio and FireMonkey, and you put some controls on and set a look and feel up, then it will look the same on Android as well. Now, there are some differences because obviously Android's navigation is slightly different and to iOS, and there's some quirks about the way that some of the controls are rendered. But if you use FireMonkey, you can hit both. But both of them are available, and you can pick which one you want to use. The components, and you can see there on the left and right edges of the screen, the thank you Kokimon, and thank you the others saying keep talking. Scroll through if people aren't happy, I don't mind. So on the left and right edges of the screen there are some snippets of the two types of palette, because when you start a VCL app or you start a FMX app, the components that are available will differ. And the reason is that there's some things, for example, if you look on the left where it says VCL there, you can see there's a thing that says Win32, Win 3.1. Those are controls that are very, very specific for Windows. FMX doesn't have those because FMX tries to have the same controls available where appropriate for every platform. So you need to pick your poison, literally, and choose. If it was me, I would, if I was going to use, if I knew I was only ever going to target Windows, I would probably go for a VCL app. If I just wanted, utilitarian application that looked good, but, had the most lightweight set of controls, then I would choose the VCL controls. But if I was thinking that at some point in the future, maybe my app might, if it sells well on Windows or it's used widely on Windows, it may be that I could then consider putting it on the Mac OS or Linux, in which case I would choose FireMonkey FMX, the stuff on the right. And that would be quite important. So let's go on to the next screen. Now, you're not going to remember everything we talk about whilst we show these, because there's a lot of different components. And in fact, we won't be able to go through all the components because there's so many of them. We would be here for hours, even if I did get to the point very quickly. But if you go to the help and then choose platforms SDK help, which is where that number 3 is, and then you've got FireMonkey library help, that's a cross-platform one, or VCL library help. Those are the two that you're wanting for. Okay. All of the controls can be found on the tool palette. Now, how does the tool palette come up? Well, if it's not already visible, and by default, when you create an app, it should be. I'm going to show you that in a minute. There, you can go to View, Tool Windows, and Palette, and then you'll get this set of controls or these set of categories down the side. Okay, and those are the available categories of types of component that are available. If you go into standard, then you'll see there are standard things like edit boxes and list boxes and all the other things that you normally see in a Windows app. But there are also some slightly more specialized ones like data access and data controls and tethering, which is a way of getting your app to, your mobile app to talk to a Windows app, for example. So those are slightly more specialized. Same with analytics and sort of touch and gestures and stuff like that. 2024 Delphi, yes, indeed. Now, if you installed the samples, and when you actually install the product, it is an optional box that you can tick. And because it takes a lot of space, not everybody will install it. But if you did install the samples, you can go to users, public documents, Embarcadero Studio, and then whatever the version is. So if you're using 12.1, which is what this is based on, then it's 23. But if it's 11.3, then it's going to be 22. But anyway, you'll work it out. Go to Studio and then click on there, and then underneath there is a samples folder. If you install the samples there, you find them there, and you can literally open it in your RAD Studio, open the project, and there you've got your sample running. So this one is probably the most useful one that you would get for your applications, and that is a control sample. I forget what it's called, controls demo, I think. And it's got just about everything you can ever want in there, really. Shows, each of the controls and what they do. So scroll boxes, memos, and speed buttons and animations for that Annie indicator is more like a please wait. If you go to a web page and I don't know if it's looking up flight tickets or something, and it's got some time that it needs to do that, it will often show you a little animation to say, hang on, we're doing something, please hang around. Well, that's what the Annie indicator is, and we'll look at that in a second. And the tool palette is organized into categories. Now, the tool palette on the right, the tallest one, is actually the one that you will see if you are creating a VCL app. And if you look at the one on the left, the far left, that is the palette that you will get if you are creating a FireMonkey FMX app. And then the two in the middle are basically the same. I just had to scroll down and take screenshots like that. And you'll see there's a lot of categories, and each of those categories contains dozens of components, a lot of stuff going on. And you'll see on the third image, that or middle right, I suppose we'll call it, you'll see also where it says TMS Web and TMS Web System. Those are third-party components that I've installed. So I'm a big fan of TMS Web Core, and on my machine I've installed the TMS components. In actual fact, my palette goes a lot further and is much bigger, and I'll show you it in a minute, because I've got a lot of third-party libraries installed, because it's kind of my job. And also, I'm a developer and I'm lazy and I don't want to write a lot of code, so I use ready-made components to do that. That's what RAD Studio is all about, is taking the hard work out of development. But one thing you do need to remember is that VCL versus FireMonkey. If you want extra fancy visual effects, animations, and cross-platform apps, then FireMonkey FMX is unbeatable. And that's, it does. In fact, if I just go back to that slide for a second, as you can see, those components there have got a shadow behind them. There's a graphic that's embedded, and I don't have to do any code to write that shadow. I just drop a component on the right place and it creates a shadow. I'm going to show that in the demo in a minute. But these are the kind of things. You can also create animations. So see where it says create new T-float animation. If I do that, I can get that whole set of controls to animate onto the screen just because the application is running. Or if I clicked on that rocket or something, I can make it disappear off the screen. No code, zero code. It will just do it because I set the properties up right. And you'll need to read more about animations on the help, but they're actually quite impressive. VCL is native to Windows, and it can do things that FireMonkey can't. So this is another reason why you choose the VCL over FireMonkey. If you do, don't forget, you can go to Windows. But the things it can do, for example, is it can do this. If you think of your WhatsApp, if you use a WhatsApp desktop app, if you right-click on the WhatsApp app, there's a lot of words, up comes a thing called a jump list or a task list. Same is true as if you right-click on, say, Notepad. It will show you the most recent files you opened. And others might say, like Internet Explorer, not Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge will say things like open a new private window, because you're going to go and look at something private, or it might be open a new tab or something like that. But with WhatsApp, in this case, if you right-click on the jump on the icon in the desktop system taskbar, it will show a new chat, so I can create a new chat, or I can make a new call, or I can just open the app itself. And say the other two, pin to taskbar and close window, are supplied by Windows. But How you do that in your own apps is using a thing called the jump list, and it's a control that's built into the VCL. You cannot do that in FireMonkey. It's not possible. Okay, so that's great, but now let's talk about doing a demo. So let's close this. So I talked to you before about some of the samples. I'm going to move my microphone a little bit so you can still hear me when my head is turned, because that is one of the problems. You need an extra microphone. So here is RAD Studio. And I mentioned before, all the webinars that we've had so far are down here. And if you missed something, if I went too quickly, or I'm speaking too fast because I'm trying to fit everything in, an hour and a half or an hour, then you can go into here and every single replay will be here. So if you missed the stuff we did in February and March, like the how to create a real Mac app, then you can just click on there and it will open a YouTube window and you can watch the replay again. So I haven't abandoned you. I don't want to feel like you missed anything, but also it means you can scroll to the bits that you're interested in or review the bit that you missed. This webinar today will appear at the top of here once we're finished and once the replay is available. So at the welcome window, I can do one of two things. I can say create a new multi-device application, which is a FireMonkey application, or I can create a new VCL application. I can also open an example. So I'm going to just open this example, which is at the moment doing that. And this one is a reasonably straightforward example. It's just got a bunch of controls on it already. Now, the reason I've chosen this one is because there's lots of nice controls on here that make sense. But you remember we talked before about the palette. Well, here's my tool palette, which I've docked down the side so that you can see it. And here are all the different categories of control. So everything that's got the chevron there, if you do that, you open up and whoa, there's loads of extra components. If we just briefly talk about what each one is. So standard are all your normal stuff like edit boxes and buttons and things like that. Okay. And there's check boxes and all the kind of things that you could get on a web page or any kind of default app. Scroll bars, combo boxes where something drops down, which will show you how that works in a moment. Radio groups and so on and so forth. Additional are lots of other things that are not necessarily default controls that you would use in any other programming language, but they are fairly regularly used. So string grid, for example, is like a table in Excel or something like that. Draw grid is just a different type of string grid which can do some extra bits and bobs. Bevel, it just creates a bevel shape, and try it out and you'll see what I mean. But all of these and the control demos has got everything on there. Buttoned edit, it's an edit box like this, the text box that I show there, except it's got a button on it. So that might be something like looking up a path or something like that. But that said, there are also things like tab sets and so on and so forth. Windows 32. Well, these are the ones that are more specifically for Microsoft Windows. And because this is a VCL thing, this does not appear in FireMonkey in the same way. So there's a tree view. If you think about something like Windows Explorer, down the left-hand side, if I open up a Windows Explorer window on my other machine, let's see, I've got to make sure I haven't got anything too embarrassing showing. Let's pick something. Hold on. Yeah. So if you think about the tree controls and all those kind of things, this is a list view control, and then what it happens in is a preview control. Well, I've shown you webinars before where I've completely mocked up Windows Explorer and various parts of Windows. Not difficult, but all of these controls in there are to do with that kind of behavior and that kind of stuff. Now, lots and lots more. System is all like very specific to there, like a Bluetooth low energy component. Drop that on and you can then get your apps to talk to Bluetooth low energy things like, these tags that you can get. If you are in the United States, you might even have a little thing stuck to your windshield. and it's a Bluetooth Low Energy tag. All it does is have a unique serial number in it, but then as you drive, your applications are talking to that Bluetooth Low Energy thing to make sure you're still there, and it will record who's driving. You'll notice when I point to these controls, you'll see there it says supported platforms. I can make it stay by moving around a bit. Those supported platforms are, when I go to do a cross-platform app, actually this probably is a cross-platform, no, but when I go to create a cross-platform app, not all of these controls are going to be available for, say, iOS. As it happens, the Bluetooth LE is, but if it's a very Windows-specific control, then it might not appear on iOS. The way to know is, first of all, this will be grayed out if you've picked the right platform, so iOS or Mac, and that control doesn't exist on that platform or can't be reproduced, then it'll be grayed out. And you'll see that list of platforms there that's appearing on the flyby hint there. You'll see that list will narrow down and say what platforms it does exist or doesn't exist for. Okay. Now, how do I find a specific control? If I click in the top here, you'll see there's a search box. And if I type the first few letters of something, up it comes and says panel. Okay, because I've typed the first couple of letters of a panel. But it also knows that pop-up action bar has got PA in it, and TDS, oh yes, dispatcher has got PA in it as well. But if I type in panel like that, then only those controls that are that have got something in there called panel will appear. How do you know which control to use? That, unfortunately, is a case of trial and error. The biggest time waster for me when designing screens, I know this platform pretty well. I know both platforms very well. The biggest time waster for me is going through and deciding which control to use to do a specific function on my screens, and deciding whether it fits in with the look and feel of all the other things. But if I just run this for a second, I'm going to do that now, and it's going to appear on my other screen because of the way Windows works. But you'll see here, here are all the controls. So with RAD Studio, it's all about visual design of controls, of forms. So a form, which is in the form designer there, corresponds to this window here, the actual applications window. Now, if this was an iOS app, or if there was a Mac app, or it was an Android app or something like that, then it would be different, because obviously on an iOS app, the screens are going to look like different completely. But on Mac, it's actually going to be looking fairly similar. The only thing that's probably going to change is the toolbar, this caption bar at the top. So that's the design mode. If I hit F12, or I go on here and change over, I can get to the code that's behind the program. Okay, and so all of those controls have things called properties on them. So if I just go back to here, you'll see down here a thing that says Object Inspector. Okay, I showed you before that you can go to for tool windows and choose Object Inspector, but actually the way I do it is I just hit F11 if it's not visible. So if I'm on here, if I hit F11, up comes the Object Inspector. What this has got on the controls are all the properties that are available for that control. So for example, the text property in this particular instance is this. Okay, when I'm running the program, I'm just going to put it back up again. It will allow me to change what's in here. A little thing that's very, very good about RAD Studio and the controls are that they support a thing called styles. So for example, if I was to choose this style, the whole app changes color. Okay, but also what happens is all of the controls change their look and feel. If you can see, the default Windows style has got square corners. I'm not sure how easy that shows up on the screen, but the actual control itself, when it's rendered at runtime, has got nice rounded corners, and also when I hover over it, it changes color like that. And you'll see that these tabs have got rounded corners. Now, this is something unique to RAD Studio and to Delphi and C++ Builder. And the ability to do this on the fly, like we are, is also quite unusual. There are other application development systems that do allow you to do similar things, but they're not quite as cool and effective as us. And in fact, in many cases, we actually do it much more, a much slicker way of doing it. But all of the controls in VCL and FireMonkey support this theming. This alone, these styles, can make your application go from looking a bit kind of Visual Basic, a bit kind of C#, I'm not, doing anything cool, to a professional app that people might actually cough up money for. Okay, the default Windows look is that, but using the themes, you can use that. I just need to drink a glass of water for a second. Now, what you might ask yourself is, how do I make that happen? How do I make all these themes appear and all these controls change? Well, if I go to my project manager, in here is the executable that gets created because it's a Windows app at the moment. If I click on options, I can also do, I think it's Alt F11, I forget, and go down to appearance. You can see there are a bunch of different styles that I can pick. Okay, so let's pick one that I know is particularly odd. I think this will work. Let's see. I think this will work. Let's see. I can click on save. Now when I run it, put my app over, and now you should see in there somewhere, what do I call it? Oh, this one, Smoky Quartz Camry. Okay, and you can see it is actually a bit like Ubuntu, if you're familiar with Ubuntu Linux. Okay, I see a lot of questions, which I'm going to get to in a moment, but that's how to do it. Now, where do I get these styles from? Well, this again comes back to components as well. If I go to Tools and Get It Package Manager, up comes the Get It Package Manager. This has been redone recently. We put the Get It servers in the cloud, so they're a lot faster and more reliable. We had a big outage earlier in the year. It's a horrible time for everybody at Embarcadero, and even worse for our customers. I spent a lot of time apologizing to people. But anyway, we've now moved things to the cloud, and that will not be happening again anytime soon. But if I click on Filter All Styles, here are all the different styles that are available. So these are, if you've got a paid version, these are all free. But even if you don't have a paid version, there are some that are free for the community edition, stuff like that. Because we want you to use the product. We don't want to make the community edition a crippled version. It is basically the same as the paid pro version, with a few restrictions, and particularly a restriction about license. But here are all the styles. Now, that's all well and good. How do I make this part do anything? Again, it's actually easier than you think. If I go to the code and say, and this is an example that you can download from the internet, when the form is created, I think it's in here. If I go down to there, it says, here's a style name as a string. For every string of there that's in the style names, do this, add it to a combo box. What's that combo box? Well, it's this combo box here. That's the name of it. If I hit F11, you can see it's called CBX VCL styles. And all it's doing is it's filling up this items list here automatically with all these strings that are available for the styles. And where did it get those styles from? And if you recall, we went into here, we went onto options, and we said appearance, and then we added the styles in. So you install them from Get It. Once you've done that once, you can actually pick them in here for this particular type of app. And that means that when it runs, it will offer those styles. And it's pretty cool. So that's a very brief run of a few controls that are available. But there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Gestures, if you want to swipe to get rid of a dialogue, on a touch sensor, like a tablet PC or something like that. Sensors, so you can get your location sensor, you can get a motion sensor and work out if the device you're on is moving. Orientation, is it flipped around, up or down, or all the rest of it. Data snap is a type of database technology. Data access components, these are only in the Pro and Enterprise versions, but you should be able to get in CE and talk to local databases, different types of database. Dialogues, these are the kind of things that appear that you want to do open file dialogue, for example, which nearly every example has got. But what if you want to know what this component does? If I hit F1, and I think this will work with yes, it will. So if I hit F1, up will come the help because I installed the help, and it tells me what this is. So in this case, it's a VCL app. As I told you, I'm using the VCL. And it tells me what the open dialog does. It displays a file selection dialog. So by file selection, when you say file save as, that's what file selection dialog is. It tells you how it works, a bit of jargon really, modal Windows dialog box, but you can always Google that or ask one of these chat bots or something like that. And then it also tells you, by the way, there's some other really cool dialogues as well. So if you're not sure what a control does, and we would be here for days if we talked about all of them, then go into there and hit F1 if you've not installed the help. It's got everything. Analytics, app analytics for, I think, Microsoft Analytics, I'm not sure. Windows 10 specific, like a numeric box. Virtual images, so that you can have resolution independent images. A Windows Store component that encapsulates all the behavior to get yourself into the Windows Store, the Windows Application Store, where most of you probably ignore it because it's not very well used, but it'll allow you to do things like create an app that is output to the Windows Store, Microsoft Windows App Store, and then in there you can say, oh, you want to upgrade, then upgrade, and the Windows App Store component will manage all of that and tell you whether the customer's paid the money for the upgrade for the disabled functionality you've put in your app. Split views, calendar pickers, there's absolutely everything. And these downwards from here are some of the TMS components I've got, but I've got all sorts of other things installed like IntraWeb and a few others. Skier components, if you've watched some of the webinars with Jim McKeith and myself, we talked a lot about Skier and stuff like that. So that's the VCL. If we talk about some of the other controls that you can have, so see where we got. Oh, we're really close to the hour. I'm probably going to run over that quite easily. Some of the other things you do is, for example, I've created a thing that is called a prototype binding source. Okay, so this is it's hard to explain really, but basically what it does is it creates some dummy data so that I can demonstrate something. Okay, and if I say right click and say bind visually, this is a function it controls as well. What it allows me to do is to say from that dummy data, I want to have, I've got a field in there called color names. Okay. And what it is, it fills it with all the names of the colors. So, when you select a component like here and you select, let's see, background color, and you click on this list here, all that does is fills the dummy data with all of these names. Okay. And I've used a thing called visual binding. So I've drawn it from the color name into the text on my text box. So I have a text box here. Okay, and it's just going to fill that text box with the data. So if I just run it for a second, this is going to show you the difference between Windows and between the VCL and FireMonkey. I can just do this to go through all the color names. Okay, I can go the last one in this, the first one in this, etc., etc. Now, no code, zero code, nothing. Not a very useful program, but that data source could be pulling in data from a list of all the schools in the United States, or a list of telephone numbers in your local company, for example. You know, and likewise, you'll see here, I've got, I think, the navigation control. I've told it to drive that with there. But more importantly, what's going on with these controls here? Well, if I look at this control overall, and if I select it like this, there is a thing called a T layout control. It's a bit like a panel or whatever you want to call it. And in there, I've parented or dropped the edit control in so that it belongs in there. I've also put an image in there, and it just happens to be a rocket ship. I've dropped it in so it's parented in the T layout. And if you're not sure, if we go back to that image for a second, I'm just going to turn this align off and say none for a second. I'll show you why in a moment. Oh, come on, you can do it. I knew this would be hard. Come on, out. Oh, it won't do it. How annoying. Okay, well, live demos, always fun. What I was going to do is just drag it out so the image stood outside the form. At the moment, it's parented to it. But I can say to it, I want it to actually align itself to the left, and then it'll push all this content over. But more importantly, look at this. I have a control here called a shadow effect. Okay, and if I, oh, I'm not running it, am I? Is that a problem? No, I'm not. If I pull up the palette for a second and choose effects here, you'll see there are all these different types of effects. This is a FireMonkey FMX app, okay? And so there are things like ripple effects and bevel effects and inner glows and glow effects. If I drop the glow effect on here, now you can see there's a glow outline to it, okay? This is the power of FireMonkey. Now I could choose a different control, and I could say, oh, let's have another edit control at the top. Oh, actually, no, let's choose a panel, okay? So I can put panel here and say, oh, actually, I want that panel to have the glow effect instead. So I'm going to actually drop that. Why is that not working? Come on. You are so annoying. Yeah, that's not working, is it? Okay. Well, I'm going to have a word with someone about that. Let's choose glow effect. Drop it on there. Okay. It's as simple as that. I don't know why it's not dragging and dropping around, and it's supposed to, but something's not right. It could be my screen setup or something like that, or it could just be I'm having a bad day, or I've just triggered some kind of weird bug. But there are all sorts of components in FireMonkey, round cubes and meshes and 3D such and suches. There are shapes, there are images, there are paths. Pie, not the kind of pie that's got meat in it and lovely things like that, but all sorts of weird things, like you can say, oh, you know, it's how big is the angle, how much is it showing of the pie, end angle where it says 90, let's say 120, and now all of a sudden our pie chart here is showing a different resolution. So lots of weird things you can do, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of controls. But as I said before, you can select the control in the palette like this, hit F1, and you will get, as long as you've installed the help. If you haven't, it'll tell you how to. But as long as you've installed the help, it will come up and it will tell you exactly how this works. So ellipse, for example, is one of them, and it draws 3D ellipses, etc., etc. Overall, I'm not sure how many components there are. It's several hundred for VCL and at least as much for FireMonkey. It's humongous. Let's just see. I'm going to say no to all that. I'm going to change that. Let's go back to the this demo. Okay, so some of these controls are extremely powerful, and one of these, for example, is this rich edit control. Okay, a T rich edit, and what does that do? Well, again, with very little code, and there is some code there to do some kind of clever handling of you know, cursors and stuff like that. But if I just zoom this down, but there is effectively, as a sample application, a complete text editor. A text editor that supports different fonts. I think it supports right to left and left to right text. You can do things like say, oh, okay, well, I'll strike through that word, and let's go to here and say, well, let's make that aqua, for example. And also, whilst we're at it, we'll choose different background and so on and so forth. Very, very powerful, and all free and all included in the app. See, subscript, superscript, all the rest of it. Absolutely everything you want. But the code for it is very simple. But every single control you see here, including this header here that shows you where the tabs are, all of this thing like the about box, which is obviously shown 2021, all built in, all easy to use. So let's just look at the about box for a second. We'll go into the main menu. So I can either get to it by clicking on there, or I can click on here, go to the about, double click, and this is the code that runs when that menu is run. Go away. Oh. I restarted my machine and broke everything. Here we go, rich edit back. Let's go in here. There's your label control. Go in, change the caption. Let's change that to say 2025. So we're in the future. Run the app. Again, humongo, and over on my other screen. Now when I select about 2025, living in the future. Again, this could all be themed. Lots of, I mean, this rich edit demo, which is available in the samples, has got just about every kind of control you could think of, like these header controls and stuff like that. Now, the question is, where will you find them? Okay, and that is in, as I said before, the users public documents. Public documents. Studio. So if I pull this over here, so users public documents, Embarcadero Studio 23, and then if you go into the samples, there's all sorts of samples in there, and the couple that I've shown you today were like the VCL one and then the rich edit. So you can actually find this app and see some of the controls in there and see all the things that you'd like to do. I could be here, we could be here for 4 hours, okay, going through all the different components. The easiest way is for you to play with these. In a couple of weeks' time, we're actually going to go and start creating some apps for real, and we'll actually use the components and talk about the properties of the components and how to use them. So we'll be doing things like adding shadows and adding effects. So for example, in FireMonkey, I can make this about box appear on screen, and then this, for example, this ABC scroll into view or sparkle onto view or flip onto view, just like my slides are and all those kind of things. FireMonkey, very powerful. VCL, much closer to the metal though. So it, again, as I said earlier on in the screens, it's about horses and courses and what it is that you're looking at. So let's go back and say where we got to. So after the demo, let's talk about some books that can help you. First of all, if you haven't got it already, you should get Marco Cantu's book about Delphi. You can get that if you go to our website. You can see it's called Object Pascal Handbook, and that's free and available from Marco Cantu, who is effectively the boss of Delphi. He's actually senior project manager, but he is the end and beginning when it comes to the language. He has also worked on a new book recently, this one here, Expert Delphi, and it was actually a update of a book by Pavel Glavaki. Unfortunately, Pavel died recently, but he passed away. Very big shock for all of us at Embarcadero, and knew quite well. We've had a couple of people pass away recently. Another one called Matthias, who works in our German office. Pavel was a very, very good developer, and this book was one of those excellent books that you can get. If you go to delphi-books.com, you can go there and find all the details about that book. The other book I definitely recommend when it comes to components and how to use them and what sort of things there are available is this one by Andrea Magni, who is one of our MVPs from Italy. And this is a book also by Packet. These Packet are just kind of on fire when it comes to Delphi books, really. But a very well written book, tells you everything you could ever want. I actually read this book and learned some things myself. And I don't think I'm a slouch when it comes to the Delphi and RAD Studio stuff, but this book really did teach me a couple of things about FireMonkey and FMX that I didn't know. Expert Delphi is much more about a wider subject to do with that, but a really great book. There are also lots of books by Holger Flick and David Cornelius and a few others as well. But if you go to delphibooks.com, you can list them in order of publication. And delphibooks.com is managed by our Spirit of Delphi winner 2024, Patrick Premotin. He's based in France. Very, very good. Did you say Pavel Glowacki passed away? Yes, Paul, he did. He passed away quite some time ago. And by the way, every sale of that Expert Delphi book, a certain percentage goes to Pavel's widow as well. That's something that Marco chose to do. But yes, it was a big shock. It was quite some time ago. It was a couple of years ago. But even so, yeah, it was not good. What else? Right. So let's go and talk about questions and answers. And for that, I think I will come back into the room. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and you'll see me again. And let's talk about some of the questions. First of all, the delphibooks.com, I'm going to put that up there. I always have to look at my badge so I can remember which way to point. So that if you scan that, that will take you directly to the delphibooks.com website. There's books on there about all the components you could possibly want and more. Now, in terms of the questions and answers, let's see what we've got. Alfred says hello from Germany, and the mouse cursor lives in its own timeline. Yeah, it's a long story. It's to do with delays on the streaming. Stuff goes wrong. What about a component for Telegram? Actually, Sarah, there isn't a component for Telegram that I'm aware of. I do know that someone managed to do something to do with the Telegram API, but I think it was changed. And I would like, if someone knows of a component for Telegram, I'd be very interested in using it. We have a lot of user groups around the world, and I try and keep up with all of them because it's my job. But you know, there are only so many hours in the day, and there's so many hundreds of social media groups and stuff like that. There are 3.5 million active users around using the product that we're aware of, probably more in other ways. But Telegram is very strong. There's several very strong communities. What I like about Telegram is if you have the pro version, it will actually translate all of the messages in the user group into English or whatever your preferred language is. So if you speak French or Spanish, it will translate the language that the community is in into your own language. So, for example, Brazil has got a massive amount of developers, and they all speak Brazilian Portuguese, of course, and rightly so. And they talk in Brazilian Portuguese. However, I can participate in that conversation because when I see their messages, after a millisecond, Telegram converts it into English for me. When I type my reply, it converts it into Portuguese. So Telegram, very, very cool feature. I assume eventually other chats tools will do that as well. But at the moment, Telegram is the only one that I'm aware of that does that consistently and well and cheaply enough to afford it. So it's there. What else have we got? Some questions, but yeah. Andale Angel, I think, are there any possibility to use Delphi Free Edition? Yes, there are. Let me just choose that. I must have a QR code for it. Yeah. If you scan that QR code, it will take you to our products page. Click on the drop down and it will say use the community edition or something like that. But go to there and you can get a free version of the product. I would warn you that the free version of the product is intended for people who are learning, people who are startups and similar kind of environments, hobbyists that are not earning an income. There is a very restricted license. What Embarcadero doesn't want you to do is to use the product for free in a business, make a lot of money out of it, and then we don't get paid, and therefore we can't pay our developers to work on the product. Do not abuse that license. That's my only advice. Is if you are a business, don't install it on your network and in your company. Install it on your own machine for your own purposes, and be careful, because if you think you're going to get a free copy and get away with not actually paying for the pro version instead, and then use it in your business and earn say 50,000 US dollars or something like that out of it, you've got a big shock happening, because we have a very good compliance department and we'll chase that up, and it's not advisable. But if you are a student, if you're an educational person or something like that, the CE edition is pretty good. And in fact, I think see if I can let me see if I can go to our product page and show this CE edition. So I'll find the link for you. I think free tools. Yeah. So let's tear this off. Let's share my screen again for a second. My screen, this one. Yeah. So I'll leave me in camera at the moment. But if you go to here where it says, so you go to embarcadero.com/products and then click on free tools, and then Delphi 11 CE is the community edition, and it is free as long as you comply with the licenses. Now, at the moment, that's the previous current version. We are thinking about upgrade. The current version of RAD Studio is 12.1. Okay, and we, as you can see in that video there, so 12.1 is the current version. We are considering upgrading the CE edition to 12.1 as well, but at the moment it's kind of like a little bit out of date. But there's only so many things we can do at one time, so we're catching up. But we don't have a fixed date when we're going to do it, but we are going to do it sooner or later. But I definitely recommend trying the CE edition out if you want to learn what's going on. And where's my mouse? There it is. Okay, so this is it. What else we got? Thanks, Nigel, for pointing that out as well. I appreciate that. Do I have a public list of user groups in different countries? Yes, we do. Go to the Embarcadero website, which again you can get to from here, and then click on which one is it? No, I think it's the blog actually. I think if you click on blogs and then there's a thing that says community. Yes, yeah, okay. So let me just show you that. Let's do it again. I peaked too soon and not sharing my screen. So if you go to blogs, so blogs.embarcadero.com, and then you go to here where it says community, it will show you all the different groups there are. Okay, there are lots. So Discord, there's 4 or 5 Discord groups, and Slack, Telegram, a couple of Telegram ones. The Skier for Delphi one is fantastic, by the way. If you want to know about mobile development, that's definitely one. I also definitely recommend the Delphi World Slack group. It's run by a guy called Dave Nottage. He's one of our MVPs based in Australia. It is by far the best mobile development Slack group you'll ever go to. It's the internet, so you're going to get a few people being a bit, clever. So treat it with caution, as you can with Facebook or any other medium. However, what I will say is that Dave is probably one of the most knowledgeable guys I know about iOS and Android. He actually advises us at Embarcadero sometimes on some things. He's a really smart guy. But the group that he runs on Slack, the one I'm pointing to there, which actually is just below that Instagram thing, if you go to that group, it's amazing. There's all sorts of advice you could ever want. So if you want to write mobile apps, that's the place to go to. But there are lots of others. Probably the most famous one is Delphi Praxis. I've got a link for the English one there, but there is a German version as well. Delphi Praxis. Praxis is just serving for practice. In other words, like a practitioner, rather than getting better. It just means that they're practitioners of it. Really great. Facebook groups, Interbase groups, Pascal, GitHubs, Reddit. We've also got French, German, Spanish, Turkish, you name it, we've got it. So great question there. Thanks very much. That's a good thing to have said. So community. What else? Is there a easy way to convert VCL to FMX? There are some tools that do it, but to be honest, unless you've got very complicated screens, it's probably easier to do it manually. I've done it a few times, and I've done it with some screens at like 85 screens. And I tried an automatic tool to do it, and it was all right, but it was not ideal. So I would say, unless your project's really huge, it's easy to just recreate the tools and then copy the code over. Delphi is so compatible between versions that it's probably easier to just redo the screens and then put the code in. Why are some of the components missing? Where is the way of installing any components to that edition? Do you mean the CE edition? Why are there some missing? Because it's the version of the professional version. There is an enterprise version above that and a architect version. And so the professional version doesn't have some of the components that the enterprise does. The enterprise is designed for linking to big corporate databases like Oracle, but also MySQL and things like that. Can you install some of them? Yes, you can. The CE edition will allow you to install certain types of components. It just depends on the component vendor. But for example, you could use TMS components and add all sorts of functionality that maybe you thought was missing. There's DevExpress and a few others as well, but not everybody supports Community Edition because they're looking at a market that's a professional market rather than anything else. What else have we got? Academic version is better for the student. Yes, if you are a student and you have a teacher or an instructor and they are not using an academic version, email me. And my email is my name, ian.barker at embarcadero.com, and tell me, and I will link you up with people who are educational contacts, who can help you with that, salespeople and pre-sales people and all sorts of other people that can do that kind of stuff. So have a chat with them and see. What else? The blog, I'm just going to change that to show the blog again because somebody was asking a question about the blog. Knut says there are some videos on Telegram and Delphi on YouTube. Yeah, okay, great. I'm sure there is an API that someone implemented, and there may even have been a component. The animations from Telegram you can show straight away. You just drop a animation component from Skier, in the IDE onto the app, and you can show those Telegram animations. That's all they are. They're just Paul Jackson says he has to go and do some work. Yeah, well, luckily I'm working, so I don't have a problem. But thanks, Paul. Yeah, Pavel was sad. Yeah, it's not great. Very popular guy, and yeah. Marco, will we be adding some web support? We've already got web support. There are some components for it. Web Broker is one of them, and there's several other ways, and you can use RAD Server as well to do things, and also TMS Web Core. And if you buy certain versions of the product, you may even get Web Core, I think, discounted or improved. I'm not sure. And IntraWeb and UniGUI and there's a couple of others as well, are available. So there are lots of different other ways. We are examining other ways of supporting web support because it is an area where we've got some options, but they could be better. But built into the IDE, I didn't show you this, but if I just put up the IDE again and show my screen again, which is this screen. Pro tip, always make sure you share the correct screen. If you look down here where it says Indie servers, Indie IO handlers, Indie Miss, and Indie so on and so forth, those components are things like a TCP client, an IMAP client for talking to email, SMTP, Finger. If you don't know what Finger is, it's an old Unix technology where you would say Finger and then a server, and it would tell you information about that server. Components for talking to internet time servers, which I personally use myself. Echo, or you name it. There's absolutely everything. Telnet, WebDAV, which allows you to get calendars. There are also servers to do Echo servers, and just dozens and dozens and dozens of things. There are also web services, so you can do SOAP connections and SOAP dispatchers, and you know all the other things as well. And in fact, if you just type in web, you'll see there's a web connection, and there's a web dispatcher, and there's a web browser component. So you can embed a web browser in your application and show web pages inside your app. So if, for example, a good way of doing something is to do your documentation on the web and then get your app to show the web pages for your documentation inside your app. And then you can always have up-to-date documentation in your product, for example, or indeed demonstrate everything. TMS has got some stuff as well, and also got IntraWeb and all sorts of stuff. But can you do the web with Delphi? Absolutely, yes. And in fact, it's actually quite a popular way of doing things. Looks like Delphi Worlds has moved off of Slack. Oh, okay, has he? Oh, I have to ask him about that. Well, he's also got a Discord group as well. So just Googled Delphi Worlds and you'll get to it. Will get it be fixed for RAD Studio 10.4? Yes. As you know, we had a server outage a while ago, which took out everything. It was a very bad problem. It was a cascading fault, which it's a long story, but there wasn't a single point of failure, multiple failures caused by more than one problem. One problem hit another problem, which hit another problem, then things went haywire, and it was awful. It was awful time, and it wasn't good for our customers and wasn't good for us. And we restored the Get It servers, which is a package manager you saw me using previously, for 12 and 11, and the only remaining ones are 10. We are working on it. We had to do 12 because we have some contractual obligations for that as well, and it's the most recent version of the product. We also had to do 11 because that's fairly recent as well, and the CE needed to work, because we want students and people like that. The 10.4 is we're in program, and we're in the process of doing something about that. Do we have a time scale? I'm afraid we don't. We want it up soon. There's a lot of pressure for us to get it done. I say us, it's actually part of the infrastructure people that deal with that, rather than the faces that you see on screen. But yeah, we all want it up. So yes, will it be fixed? Yes, absolutely. Oh, the link is no longer active. Okay, so that's not the same as it not being there. Let me see if I can find Delphi World. The problem is that on the okay. I'm going to put this in the chat. If you try delphiworlds.com, that is the actual website for Dave Nottage. And it's literally delphiworlds.com, just as it sounds. He has got links on there that will tell you where to go to these various user groups. I think what happened was we posted a link to the blog page and then it's expired because Telegram sometimes expires the links, and that's what's happened. So that's something for me to fix, isn't it? Excellent. He's definitely still using Slack. I know that because I've seen it. Got it. How about the UI for web from the same single code base? This is something we're looking into. In theory, if you use, and this is kind of like suggesting using a third-party component, but if you use TMS and you build using their FNC components, so framework neutral components, you could theoretically create a form that is only using the FNC components and the same code base, and then target the web, desktop, mobile, whatever. But right now we are looking into what we can do with the web, and that would be that's something we would like to do natively but can't at the moment. There's not always a good metaphor anyway. Designing an app for a web page is not quite the same as designing it for a desktop. And one of the biggest mistakes I think a lot of people make is they have a really good web desktop app and then they just try and make it into a web page. And that works fine until when it doesn't, because web pages aren't the same. But I think TMS Web Core and IntraWeb as well and UniGUI do a very good job of making it as robust and usable as it can be. But sometimes you have to rethink what you're doing when it comes to a web page. I worked on a very large project up until about 2 months ago, which was based on TMS Web Core, and it looked just like the desktop app. That was the brief for the work, and it looked exactly the same, and it just worked. So that was not it. DelphiWorlds.com. Why is FireMonkey only available in Enterprise? That's not true. FireMonkey is available. It's free. It's in every version. Steph, sorry. FireMonkey is in every version. So I don't know quite where you're saying it. Are you thinking FireDAC or FireMonkey? Because they're very different. FireDAC is available in Pro and CE as well, but you can connect to local databases, not cloud databases, with the FireDAC stuff. So I'm not quite sure why you're saying, "What is there a FireMonkey not available?" Yes, it is. It's available for everything. Terry has said that she was able to request an invite to Slack. Excellent, good. And I'm guessing, Terry, that's your picture, so I'm guessing it's she. So I apologise, Terry. I don't want to genderize people, you know how it is. What else? FireMonkey is in Pro version of it. Yes, it is. Will the professional version ever have more FireDAC database driver support? Okay. All right. So the short answer is I can't answer that because I don't know. Martha, that's fine. Producer Martha's given up. She's got to go to someone else. So I'll deal with it. Don't worry, Martha. You can go. It's a huge cost increase. Yeah. Okay. So how do I answer this diplomatically and without breaching NDA agreements? You can theoretically connect to other types of database with the Pro and the CE version. And there are components out there that will help you do that. However, if you want to use FireDAC to use it, then unfortunately the enterprise version to connect to a corporate database, the implication there is that you're connecting in an environment that can afford to pay for the license. I accept that's probably not always the case. Okay, I get it, and I get it, particularly if you live in a country where your currency is weaker than the US dollar, which is almost every country. Then I can understand that the cost is quite high if you are a single developer. We do discounts, we do options and things like that, but unfortunately that is how it works. Meanwhile, there's someone, I'm just going to ban them for a second. They can go away, trying to offer me some service. But the short answer is that, that's the way it is. You can connect to databases, and there are third-party component vendors out there that will help you do that. Hansi, if you want to email me, we can talk about this a bit more. And we're actually going to do some database stuff later on. I forget when the exact time is. Let me just have a look. A couple of weeks time. Oh, where's my mouse? There it is. Yeah, the database, Tuesday 7th of May is when we're going to do the talk about databases, and I'll cover the versions there. I've actually talked to some third-party vendors. So, Hansi, hang on till the 7th of May, and we'll talk more about databases then. Antonello Calamagno. Hello, Antonello, from Italy. Right, so I think I've covered all of the questions. What else have we got? I'll just put the Delphi books thing up one more time, so that you've got it, and we can also put it across here as well if you're not inclined to scan QR codes. Several hundred of you have stuck it out live, which is quite amazing. I get a lot of emails from people saying that they like these webinars. I know they're not for everybody. I know some people don't like them. That's fine. But it's not that they don't like what's happening. It's just that they're wanting content in a different way, or they want something that is less conversational, or they want something that's almost like a lecture. And the reason that we put the replays up is you can scroll through the boring bit of Ian talking and get to the bit where the webinar slides are there. We also post the replays up on the blogs, which you'll see. If I put that across the bottom as well, I can do that. Captions, here we go. We also put the replay up on the blog, and we announce various things as well. That's our primary form of communication that's outside of the general marketing thing. But the slides are there. The gist of the information is condensed down into an article form, and so on and so forth. If you ever need to contact me, and I'm going to put this up in the screen now. Helps if I spell my name right. If you never need to email me, talk about anything you've seen, tell me what you hate, tell me what you like, tell me your ideas, and so on and so forth, then feel free to email me. I will answer every single email. It's not always going to be that I've got the answers, and if it's a technical support question, I'm not going to answer it, because I will come back and say, hey, I've passed you on to support or whatever. But the reason is that I'm really busy, as I'm sure you can imagine, and I'm not the best person to answer support questions. No one person can be good at everything. And our support team have specialists in different areas, and they are really good, frighteningly good, actually, a bit too good. And they're the best people to answer your support questions, because they've got stock answers they've already done 100 times with 50 different people, but also they've got solutions at their fingertips. They're working very close contact with the development team and things like, which I do too, but in a different way. So I'm not there for technical support. I don't have the time. But good or bad, happy or sad, you can email me. I do not want you to think of us, Embarcadero, as someone you can't get hold of. It's unusual for a large company like that to reach out and say, please get in touch, but I really, really mean it. You know, it's one of the benefits that you have of having someone like yourself there and say, talk to me, see what we have to say. And sometimes we even have virtual meetings and chat people and Skype people, and that freaks people out. So, but that's what it's about. Now, if you are in Europe in June, I definitely recommend that you look at going to the Delphi Summit. It's a new thing that's we've been advertising very heavily. I'm just going to Google it. Delphi Summit. Yeah, it's here. So if you are that way inclined, go to delphisummit.com. A little disclaimer, I am actually doing not one but two keynotes there, but almost anybody who is everybody in the Delphi world will be there. Marco Cantu, who is Senior Project Manager for the Delphi and RAD Studio, he'll be there. Just it's like the guest list is like a who's who of everybody in Delphi. So you know, I definitely recommend you go. I don't get any extra money for you, you know, you turning up. This is actually it's organized by a company called GDK Software, or a Delphi software house, but it's also partially sponsored by Embarcadero and lots of other people as well. Good companies. You'll see the sponsorship list on there. But if you live in Europe and you can make it, go to the delphisummit.com. It's in Amsterdam. It's in a very amazing location. It's actually the like a video games museum, I think, or arena, games or esports arena or something like that. I don't know, something crazy. Anyway, I know that much, but I'll be there. You can come and say hi and meet me in person. And like I say, lots of other who's who of Delphi people will be there as well. Not just me who just talks a lot, but actual real people who do things that are meaningful. So come along if you can. Anyway, producer Martha's had to go, and I'm well and truly over the hour. I'm 40 minutes late, but good to talk to you. Next week, we're going to look at the third-party components, and some of those will be those web components and database components. And we'll be talking about some of the ecosystems out there, where to get free stuff that isn't from Embarcadero, but from other people, and where to find the best paid, best value paid components and stuff like that as well, and get trial versions of copies and things like that. And some of them offer discounts and things as well. But come along next week and we'll do those and see how it goes. And I promise not to talk quite so much at the beginning, but I probably will. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And oh, hang on, I just better check. Thanks for that, Ian. Thanks for having an instructive webinar. I look forward to all your future webinars. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Ian. Blah blah blah. Marco in Napoli. Thanks, Marcus. Thank you. Marcus Kosma, once again, thank you for this wonderful going through. Yeah, thank you. Oh, well, you know what? It's all for you guys. It's actually for the benefit of the language, for the benefit of RAD Studio. That's why we do it. I get paid to do it, obviously, but I have been a fan of Delphi since the very first day it was released, and that's why I'm here. Knut says, see you all next week. Yes, you will. We will be here next week, and thank you for a great presentation. Thanks very much. Really, I do appreciate your support, everybody. It's very good. Now, if you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button and click on subscribe as well, wherever that is, and hit the little bell icon. And then what will happen is we won't know who you are, but you will get told by YouTube that I'm broadcasting live or something like that, and you can go from there. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Einstein 8854. You're always here. It's fantastic. And I'll see you next week, same time on Tuesday.